Margaret Thatcher. Margaret Hilda Thatcher, Baroness Thatcher, LG, OM, DStJ, PC, FRS, HonFRSC, born 13 October 1925, die on 8 April 2013, was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from 1979 to 1990 and leader of the Conservative Party from 1975 to 1990. The longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century, she was the first woman to hold that office. As Prime Minister, she implemented policies that became known as Thatcherism. A Soviet journalist dubbed her the Iron Lady, a nickname that became associated with her uncompromising politics and leadership style. Thatcher studied chemistry at Somerville College, Oxford, and worked briefly as a research chemist before becoming a barrister. She was elected Member of Parliament for Finchley in 1959. Edward Heath appointed her Secretary of State for Education and Science in his 1970 to 1974 government. In 1975, she defeated Heath in the Conservative Party leadership election to become Leader of the Opposition, the first woman to lead a major political party in the United Kingdom. On becoming Prime Minister, after winning the 1979 general election, Thatcher introduced a series of economic policies intended to reverse high inflation and Britain's struggles in the wake of the winter of discontent and an oncoming recession. Her political philosophy and economic policies emphasized deregulation, particularly of the financial sector, the privatization of state-owned companies, and reducing the power and influence of trade unions. Her popularity in her first years in office waned amid recession and rising unemployment, until victory in the 1982 Falklands War and the recovering economy brought a resurgence of support, resulting in her landslide re-election in 1983. She survived an assassination attempt by the Provisional IRA in the 1984 Brighton hotel bombing and achieved a political victory against the National Union of Mine Workers in the 1984-85 miners' strike. Thatcher was re-elected for a third term with another landslide in 1987, but her subsequent support for the community charge, poll tax, was widely unpopular, and her increasingly Eurosceptic views on the European community were not shared by others in her cabinet. She resigned as Prime Minister and party leader in 1990, after a challenge was launched to her leadership. After retiring from the Commons in 1992, she was given a life peerage as Baroness Thatcher, of Kesteven in the county of Lincolnshire, which entitled her to sit in the House of Lords. In 2013, she died of a stroke at the Ritz Hotel, London, at the age of 87. A polarizing figure in British politics, Thatcher is nonetheless viewed favourably in historical rankings and public opinion of British Prime Ministers. Her tenure constituted a realignment towards neoliberal policies in Britain, with debate over the complicated legacy attributed to Thatcherism persisting into the 21st century. Margaret Thatcher was Prime Minister of the United Kingdom from the 4th of May 1979 to the 28th of November 1990, during which time she led a Conservative majority government. She was the first woman to hold that office. During her premiership, Thatcher moved to liberalise the British economy through deregulation, privatisation, and the promotion of entrepreneurialism. Thatcher returned to the backbenches as a constituency parliamentarian after leaving the premiership. Her domestic approval rating recovered after her resignation, though public opinion remained divided on whether her government had been good for the country. Aged 66, she retired from the House of Commons at the 1992 general election, saying that leaving the Commons would allow her more freedom to speak her mind. On leaving the Commons, Thatcher became the first former British Prime Minister to set up a foundation. The British wing of the Margaret Thatcher Foundation was dissolved in 2005 due to financial difficulties. She wrote 2 volumes of memoirs, The Downing Street Years, 1993, and The Path to Power, 1995. In 1991, she and her husband Dennis moved to a house in Chester Square, Residential Garden Square in central London's Belgravia district. Thatcher died on the 8th of April 2013, at the age of 87, after suffering a stroke. S/sec equals 0.4 E-. She had been staying at a suite in the Ritz Hotel in London since December 2012, after having difficulty with stairs at her Chester Square home in Belgravia. Her death certificate listed the primary causes of death as a cerebral accident and repeated transient ischemic attack. Secondary causes were listed as a carcinoma of the bladder and dementia. Details of Thatcher's funeral had been agreed with her in advance. She received a ceremonial funeral, including full military honours, with a church service at St. Paul's Cathedral on the 17th of April. Queen Elizabeth II and the Duke of Edinburgh attended her funeral, marking only the second time in the Queen's reign that she attended the funeral of any of her former prime ministers, after that of Winston Churchill, who received a state funeral in 1965. S/sec equals 0.4 EP. Thatcher's tenure of 11 years and 209 days as British Prime Minister was the longest since Lord Salisbury, 13 years and 252 days, in 3 spells, and the longest continuous period in office since Lord Liverpool, 14 years and 305 days. Having led the Conservative Party to victory in 3 consecutive general elections, twice in a landslide, she ranks among the most popular party leaders in British history in terms of votes cast for the winning party. Over 40 million ballots were cast in total for the Conservatives under her leadership. Her electoral successes were dubbed a historic hat trick by the British press in 1987. Thatcher ranked highest among living persons in the 2002 BBC poll 100 Greatest Britons. In 1999, Time deemed Thatcher one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century. In 2015, she topped a poll by Scottish Widows, a major financial services company, as the most influential woman of the past 200 years, and in 2016 topped BBC Radio 4's Woman's Hour Power list of women judged to have had the biggest impact on female lives over the past 70 years. In 2020, Time magazine included Thatcher's name on its list of 100 Women of the Year. She was chosen as the Woman of the Year 1982, the year in which the Falklands War began under her command and resulted in the British victory. In contrast to her relatively poor average approval rating as Prime Minister, Thatcher has since ranked highly in retrospective opinion polling and, according to YouGov, is seen in overall positive terms by the British public. Just after her death in 2013, according to a poll by The Guardian, about half of the public viewed her positively while 1/3 viewed her negatively. In a 2019 opinion poll by YouGov, most Britons rated her as Britain's greatest post-war leader, with Churchill coming second. According to the poll, more than 4 in 10 Britons, 44%, think that Thatcher was a good or great Prime Minister, compared to 29% who think she was a poor or terrible one. She was voted the 4th greatest British Prime Minister of the 20th century in a 2011 poll of 139 academics organised by Mori. In a 2016 University of Leeds survey of 82 academics specialising in post-1945 British history and politics, she was voted the 2nd greatest British Prime Minister after the Second World War. Thanks for watching HerStory channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe our channel.